Hello, Wisconsin HOSA advisors and members. My name is Noah Mutter-Schultz, and I am the Director of Competitive Events for Wisconsin HOSA, and I am joined once again with Miss Julie Williams, our Deputy Director of Competitive Events. Today, Julie and I wanted to come on and give a general overview of what to expect for the State Leadership Conference now that we're in a virtual format and how the CE program is going to look in this virtual format this year. Lots of important dates coming up here in the month of March. We had our SLC virtual registration open on February 20th, and that will end on March 5th. So advisors, make sure that you have all of your competitors registered by that March 5th deadline, as we will not be accepting any late registrations. Any competitors, if you qualified to advance from regionals to state and are choosing not to continue on to the state level, make sure that you inform your advisors right away, as they need to inform the state office no later than March 3rd. Looking at our different competitive events and how those different competitive event competition windows are going to play out here in the next month. We have, starting on March 1st through March 15th, 4 events that require uploads to Tallo. So the COVID-19 awareness event, interviewing skills, job seeking skills, and life support skills all have a component, some type of material, a form or video project that needs to be uploaded to Tallo no later than March 15th. That's when that window will close. Interviewing skills, job seeking skills, and life support skills additionally have a live component to those events, and so we'll be discussing that later on in this presentation. Any competitive event with a live component will be held on Saturday, March 20th. And again, later in this presentation, we'll go over those events and the specific schedule. March 15th and through March 30th, excuse me, looking at that time frame, that's when all the other competitive events that have materials to be uploaded to Tallo will take place. So if you're competing in one of these events, you'll need to upload any of the required materials to Tallo between March 15th is when that opportunity will open, through the deadline will be 11:59 on March 30th. This is the same window for all of our health science events, with the exception of medical spelling, as that does have a live component, but all other health science events have an online test again. It's a different test than what you took at the regional level. So competitors in the health science online tests, you'll again receive an email with your login credentials, and you'll have any time between March 15th through the March 30th window to complete your online test. The healthcare issues exam, which is a recognition event, is also an online test, and so that will fall under that window, as well as the extemporaneous health or extemporaneous writing, excuse me. Some of our recognition events, all recognition events will have a deadline of March 30th. So Barbara James Service Award, Healthcare Issues Exam, as already mentioned, HOSA Happenings, and the HOSA Service Project. And we'll discuss later the differences on how each of those recognition events, the platforms that you'll use to upload and submit items. So now going over a few general information and resources. Again, as mentioned, all competitors will receive an email from Wisconsin HOSA on March 12th. That will provide all general information, the access password to the state password protected page, and all those updates from the state association. All of our health science events, again, except for medical spelling, as well as extemporaneous writing and healthcare issues exam, you'll receive an email from HOSA on March 12th with your login credentials. Again, you do not need to test those in advance. When you're ready to take your exam between March 15th and March 30th, you'll use those credentials to log in. Contact myself or the hosa.wisconsin@gmail.com account if you're having trouble logging in. Helpful resources, all of our state level competitive event and recognition program resources are now linked on the competitive event website or competitive event page on the Wisconsin HOSA website. And you may have noticed that that page looks a little bit differently. We are trying to streamline and highlight all of our state level resources on the top of that page, so it's easier for you to locate as you're preparing to compete on the state level. Some resources I just want to highlight. Again, all of our resources are going to be linked in one spot. So that's going to be the virtual competitive events program resource document. We'll promote some of the additional resources like this orientation, for example, individually as well. But that resource document will provide all of the links to all the additional resources for the state level competition. Julie will now go over some specific information regarding our online testing events.
All right, thank you, Noah. So as Noah had mentioned, all online testing or the following online tests will take place March 15th through the 30th. The event of epidemiology underneath emergency preparedness event will take place. Under health science, we have all of the events in this category, which is one of the largest ones. Leadership events, extemporaneous writing, which again, as Noah had mentioned, it does not have an online test, but will use the HOSA online testing system for the competitors to receive and respond to the essay prompt. The one recognition event that we have also for online testing is going to be the healthcare issues exam. Also with online testing here, some instructions and reminders that we have to tell you about. All SLC tests will be taken online. So using your smartphone, using your tablet or computer, tests will be again with an open book or open note format. All competitors registered to take an online test will receive that email from HOSA on March 12th, again, is that date that Noah had stated earlier, with their specific login credentials and any additional instructions. All competitors must review and complete the ethics and security statement form before midnight on March 14th, similar to what you did for RLC, virtual RLC. Changes to the testing time duration, again, to try to ensure that integrity of the online testing format, since there are no proctors this year. Dental terminology and medical terminology will now have a 45-minute testing window, and medical spelling will have a 30-minute testing window. So those times are different than what is stated in the national guidelines. However, again, the number of questions has not changed. So again, plan ahead, study, study, study for your success on these tests. As always, if you have any technical assistance needs for whatever reason, please contact hosa.wisconsin@gmail.com for any necessary assistance that you should encounter when you are taking your online test. This email, again, will be checked daily during that testing window of the 15th through the 30th, and you will receive a response within 24 hours. You're encouraged, again, to take your tests prior to that last testing window closing date in the event of any type of technical issue. So don't hesitate and wait until the end of March to take that online test. Don't procrastinate and wait until the end. So tips, tricks, hints for your success for your online tests for virtual SLC.
Thanks, Julie. Now to discuss some specifics with our live event. So any competitive event with a live component, as mentioned, will take place on March 20th. That's a Saturday, so make sure you mark your calendars, take off work if you need to in advance, and all those events will be scheduled on March 20th, starting at 10 a.m. These events include emergency preparedness, CPR first aid, EMT, and life support skills, all of our health profession events, medical spelling from the health science category. So you will not have an online test at the state level. It'll be a medical spelling will consist of a live spell down. Leadership events, we have healthy lifestyle, interviewing skills, and job seeking skills. Teamwork events consist of biomedical debate, creative problem solving, forensic science, and HOSA Bowl. Majority of these events will be held using the Zoom platform, but creative problem solving and forensic science will also use Google Meets. Life support skills, as well as interviewing skills and job seeking skills, also have a Tallo component that will be due March 15th. So make sure you upload those required items, materials to Tallo by the 15th so that your judges have those readily available on March 20th. The links to the Zoom meetings or Google Meets, depending on your event, will be provided on the password protected SLC 2021 webpage. So that's where competitors will need to log into that page and access the correct link. We'll be posting there's going to be multiple links throughout the day for depending on the event you're in. So make sure that you're looking for your event and then the link that is associated for the respective event that you're competing in. Some instructions and reminders. Again, all of our competitors must review and complete the ethics and security statement form by 11:59 on March 14th. Judges will be scoring the competitors demonstrating their skill in a live format using either a Google Meets and or Zoom platform. And they'll be judging according to the appropriate rubric. So make sure you're using those rubrics again as a study guide as you prepare for your events. Competitors should be prepared to perform any of the skills and have all required equipment and materials readily available at the time of their scheduled competition. So make sure you refer to the alternative equipment and materials list for specific modifications and additional supplies that competitors may need to provide this year now that we're in a virtual format. So in years past, if you were in person competing, Wisconsin HOSA would provide a list of materials that competitors wouldn't typically have to provide, but now that we're in a virtual format, there may be additional materials that competitors need to provide to perform your skill. Competitors have already completed the scenario-based essay as part of the online test during round 1, so there will not be any online testing component or essay that needs to be completed on the state level. This essay will be used as a tiebreaker if needed. Competitors that receive an overall score in the top 5 within their event will be considered the SLC finalists and the ILC qualifiers. So before I move forward and go through the schedule for March 20th, I'm going to take you to the alternative equipment and materials lists and just show you what this presentation looks like. Again, this is linked under that general virtual program, CE program resource document. For emergency preparedness, I'll show you CPR first aid, for example. So these are, again, all of these materials and equipment are in addition to what your guidelines state that competitors need to provide. So to kind of help simulate the realness of the event a little bit more in the virtual format, if, for example, if the skill that is selected is severe bleeding, we're asking that competitors have a bottle or some ketchup available when it's your time to compete to simulate severe bleeding. To have, for the CPR skills, to have either like a regular size rectangle sleeping pillow to simulate an adult CPR mannequin, or a smaller kind of couch throw pillow of sorts to simulate if it were the infant CPR mannequin. We understand some competitors may be back in a hybrid format or have access to an actual CPR mannequin or some of these other materials. However, just to maintain the equity across the board for all competitors, we're providing this list of alternative equipment and materials that even if you have access to a CPR mannequin, we're expecting that you provide a pillow and use that to keep that consistent for all competitors and make the judges' experience similar as well. If you have any questions on any of these kind of alternative equipment or materials. A majority of them are household items, so you shouldn't have to go out and purchase anything additional. If you do, make sure you contact me or Miss Patron, the state advisor, and if you need assistance with that, we have the Wisconsin Opportunity Grant available as well. You will notice on some of the skill slides as well, including some of the health profession events, that there is a box that indicates if you need to recruit a family member to serve as the patient for a selected skill. So not every skill may require you to have a patient. However, a lot of the health profession and emergency preparedness skill based events do require, some of the skills do require a patient. And so make sure that you kind of have conversations with a family member in your household to serve as that individual. There are also a gray text box on just about every slide that lists at least one, sometimes more skills that are not being considered just due to being in the virtual format and again, equity purposes and access to materials. Some of the skills we felt would be too challenging to replicate in the virtual format now. So that may help competitors a little bit focus only on the skills that are listed and not if there's a skill that's not being considered, again, that's in that gray text box. So you wouldn't necessarily have to prepare for those. All right, going back to our presentation, I will now show our schedule, and Julie will walk us through our schedule of events for Saturday, March 20th.
Awesome. Thank you, Noah. So as you can see here, this is the schedule for the events that will start at 10 a.m. on Saturday, March 20th. Two details that I want to highlight for you. Creative problem solving, you will notice, is actually listed twice on the schedule. That is not an error. Competitors will be scheduled to first join Google Meet, where they will receive the secret topic, and then we'll have 30 minutes to prepare the presentation for the judges. After that 30 minutes has concluded, the host will then share the link for the competitors to access the Zoom meeting. So again, you can see kind of on this schedule, it's color coded, nice and easy for us to be able to see the time period that you are going to join for your live events on Saturday, March 20th. You can see here on this next slide, again, this is the schedule for all the events for the afternoon on Saturday, March 20th. One event to highlight here is that forensic science will be held with a Google Meets instead of Zoom. So the majority of the events will be through the Zoom platform. However, again, forensic science here in the afternoon will be held with a Google Meets instead of that Zoom platform. So again, you can see the timeframes that you're going to be joining your live competition. So you can see, for example, if I were competing in physical therapy, my time slot that I should be prepared for is 1 p.m. and you're not competing for that 2 hours from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m., but you want to make sure that you have that 2-hour window set aside for your specific time slot that you will be competing. So that's why we're sharing the schedule, so that way it kind of makes sense for you to be able to plan accordingly, for you to have all of your supplies or equipment necessary, your patient, if you need someone as a live actor at home, if you are scheduled to work at all on March 20th, Saturday, that you are planning and preparing, so that way you know how much time to carve out of your day for your specific competitive event.
Exactly, yep. And I do also want to highlight with these events being held live in a live format, similar to any of our teamwork events that are require talent submissions, social distancing guidelines and all of those measures still need to be considered. So for example, if you're in CPR first aid, we are not expecting or encouraging, for that matter, you and your teammate to come together. You two can still compete social distance from your individual homes, and will join the meet individually, and will the first rescuer will do their skill, and then rescuer two can still be in that breakout room, but they just will kind of observe silently. And then when it's the rescuer two's turn to go, rescuer one will just observe silently. HOSA Bowl, some of our teamwork events, again, all team members are not expected or encouraged to come together at all. You guys can all join the Zoom meet individually, social distance from your own individual homes. So just wanted to remind you of that as well, in case as you are preparing and practicing, you had questions on how some of those teamwork-based events would occur in the live format. So now on the next few slides, I'm going to provide you with some more general overview information of what to expect when you actually join that Google Meet or Zoom meeting on March 20th. All competitive events with a live component will be conducted using Zoom, with the exceptions, as mentioned, of creative problem solving and forensic science, which will both use the Google Meet platform, and then creative problem solving will actually later join, as Julie mentioned, a Zoom Meet. You will be instructed to join the Zoom Meet at a specific time. So whatever time that competitive event starts is the time that all competitors in that event will need to join that meeting. So for example, if you are competing in physical therapy, as Julie mentioned, that event starts at 1 p.m. and is scheduled to conclude at 3 p.m. But all competitors in physical therapy will be required to join the Zoom meeting at 1 o'clock and will remain in a waiting room until the host admits you into the main session just prior to your individual competitor slot time. Depending on the number of competitors in the event and whether the event is running ahead of schedule, whether it's running on time or might be behind schedule, you could be waiting in that waiting room for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, even perhaps an hour or more. Just know that that is expected and normal. So don't panic if you're waiting in there for extensive amount of time. Again, we want to make sure that all competitors log in at the start time of that event in case there are any technology issues that arise and we need to troubleshoot that. This way we will have kind of built in a buffer to help troubleshoot any of those technology issues. And the plan is that the host will admit the competitor from the waiting room into the main session approximately 5 minutes before your scheduled competition time. The host will provide some initial instructions and again, can help assist in troubleshooting any technology issues. So while you're waiting for the host to admit you into that main session, you can use that time to review your event guidelines and rubrics. Ensure that you have all of your required materials and supplies readily available, that your patient is nearby and available as well, in case that the skill requires a patient. And then just continue to further prepare and practice, get in the right mindset for your competition. So approximately 5 minutes prior to your scheduled competition time, the host will admit you from the waiting room into the main session. Once you have been admitted into the main session, you will see a slide similar to this one. We'll have 3 different hosts depending on your Zoom or Google Meet, but you'll all see a similar slide to the one being shown here. And this will list the different competitive events that are admitting competitors during that specific time frame. So if you do not see the competitive event that you are registered to compete in on the slide, after being admitted into the main session, don't panic, just inform the host, and they will be able to assist you further in getting you either the correct Zoom link, or it's perhaps you joined too early, or they can just help further troubleshoot that with you. The host will then provide you with a few initial instructions to ensure that your technology is working. Make sure that you're able to unmute your microphone, have your camera turned on, and will instruct you how to change your name to reflect your chapter name, your competitor or team ID, and your initials. If you do not know your competitor or team ID, again, don't worry. The host and CE management team members that are assigned to that main session will have lists and will be able to provide that information to you. Once the virtual room attendant has returned to the main session and informed the host that the judges are ready for the next competitor to be admitted into the breakout room, the host will then move you into a specific breakout room for your competitive event. For some of our events, if you're competing in any of the health profession events, for example, CPR first aid, life support skills, EMT, these events have a secret scenario that aligns with one or more of the skills for that respective event. You will not know until you have been admitted into that breakout session what the secret scenario and skill or skills will be. I will show you here on the next slide an example of a scenario from CPR first aid guidelines and explain more how you'll receive that scenario and what that process will look like. So after the host has been notified by the virtual room attendant that the judges are ready for the next competitor or team to be admitted into the breakout room, the host will then move the competitors into that respective breakout room for you to begin your competition. On this slide, you see an example scenario from the guidelines of the CPR first aid event. Again, if you're competing in one of the skill-based events with a secret scenario, the virtual room attendants will initially check with you to ensure there were no technology issues encountered between moving from the main session into your individual breakout room. They may provide you with a few additional instructions, but then they will be sharing their screen and present the scenario to you. You'll have 1 minute to review and read the scenario. We are recommending that you will already have all of your required materials near you and readily available to begin your competition, as well as having your patient nearby as well. Make sure you're checking the CE handbook, the SLC CE handbook, the alternative equipment and materials lists, and other resources we have been publishing to ensure you have all the necessary materials and know what is expected for when you are to compete in this live format. Again, once that 1 minute is up, the room attendant will then stop sharing their screen so that the judges can have full access and view of you performing that skill in response to the scenario. And the room attendants will give you clear instruction of when to begin your skill. If you are not competing in a skill-based competitive event, but your event does have a live component, so there are a few leadership events, teamwork events, as well as medical spelling where this is the case, you still may have a slide presented to you that either has a secret topic or may just have additional instructions relevant to your event. Very few events may not have a slide, but in those situations, the virtual room attendant will simply provide you with any of the necessary information before you begin the competition. When your competition time has concluded, the room attendant will then dismiss you from the breakout room and Zoom meeting, and your competition will have concluded and you'll be dismissed for the day. If you have any questions about this process, please feel free to reach out to us in advance.
Thanks, Noah. I want to move forward here with some Tallow events information. So some of you are competing in events where you are going to be uploading your materials to Tallow, again, similar to what you did for virtual RLC. So you can see it's color-coded here nicely on the slides to help you know important dates for your competitive events. So if you are competing, for example, in emergency preparedness in life support skills, you can see that's highlighted in red to indicate that all of those materials must be submitted to Tallow by March 15th. before midnight again. So it says, again, these events also contain a live component. So again, that was in the live components slide information. So again, kind of recap or look at that. And then you can see also an emergency preparedness, the event of public health. So it says here that those materials again must be submitted to Tallow by March 30th or midnight. So we have our leadership events, interviewing skills and job seeking. Again, March 15th are the deadlines for Tallow for both of those events. And then we've got health career photography, prepared speaking, research poster, research persuasive writing and speaking. So again, those events would have the March 30th deadline. In teamwork events, we have community awareness, health career display, that's for middle school and secondary divisions, health education, medical innovation, and public service announcement. Recognition event, we only have one listed there of HOSA happenings. So again, all of that material needs to be uploaded to Tallow by that March 30th date. And then new this year is the special competitive events, the COVID-19 awareness event. And that is the only special competitive event that does not have a live component for it. So you're submitting all of those materials to Tallow by the 15th for that COVID-19 awareness event. Just some reminders and instructions with Tallow. Again, that ethics and security statement form must be completed before midnight on March 14th. So again, just review that information and complete that. All competitors registered to compete again in an event that requires materials that have to be uploaded to Tallow at the state level should ensure reviewing all of that information and resources ahead of time. So again, looking at those event guidelines, following those specific rubrics and instructions about how to submit that information in Tallow. As Noah had mentioned earlier, Wisconsin HOSA Competitive Events and Recognition Policies and Procedure Handbook. Again, this is different from the event guidelines on the national website. So looking at that, all competitors participating in an event that requires any items that must be submitted to Tallow. Again, we have the link hyperlinked in here for resources, also on the Wisconsin HOSA website, but there is only one team member that needs to upload the materials to Tallow. Additionally, again, if the event requires some type of recording of your maybe presentation to YouTube, and that YouTube link again has to be submitted to Tallow. So make sure that it's a working link. When check it before you submit that to Tallow. Again, no other forms can be accepted. So read through the guidelines, it states that specifically. Once the competitors have created your Tallow profile, you'll need to select the opportunity listed in Tallow for your respective event that you're registered for virtual SLC. So this is again where you'll upload your event materials. It's super easy to be able to do that. As always, if you have or need any technical assistance, please contact Wisconsin HOSA at Gmail. Again, we'll respond back to you within 24 hours. So please make sure that if you're having any technical difficulties, just reach out sooner than later so that we can assist you in that process.
All right, so our few recognition events, we have Barbara James Service Award and HOSA Service Project are the two we have not yet discussed, as these two use another platform, which is the HOSA Activity Tracking System. So there are instructions and reminders for these events as well. Any Wisconsin HOSA member in good standing may register for any number of recognition events. So you could register to do Barbara James Service Award. Your chapter can register to do HOSA Service Project. You could also register to do healthcare issues exam, and there's no limitations for the number of recognition events you or your chapter decides to participate in. All members registered for one of the recognition events listed above, so again, Barbara James Service Award and HOSA Service Project, will need to submit and the local chapter advisor will need to approve the required information. So check your event guidelines. They're either uploading hours and or monetary funds that were raised by the chapter to the HOSA activity tracking system by March 30th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. Once that window has closed, anything that's submitted or approved after that deadline cannot be counted for the state level recognition, but there is an extension available for those who qualify and advance to ILC. But for the state level deadline, that is March 30th at 11:59 p.m. So advisors, make sure that you're also going in and approving those, because in years past, I know that is an item that is often overlooked. Not only do the competitors need to upload or submit their hours and monetary funds, but the advisors also need to have that approval item completed by the 30th as well. If you need any instructions, if this is especially your first time using the HOSA activity tracking system, we have linked in this presentation both member instructions and chapter advisor instructions. Again, as always, if you have any questions or technology issues that come up navigating this system, please reach out to the hosa.wisconsin@gmail.com account, and we'll be checking that throughout the month of March.
Phew, that was a lot of information. So we want to just recap some really important reminders for you. Update your calendars now, ladies and gentlemen, with the important dates so that you don't miss out when you compete. We also are asking that you are going to be completing the virtual SLC 2021 Competitor Orientation Verification Form. Noah, do you want to take us to that now so we can see what that looks like? Please.
So this form, you'll type in your name, and then it'll ask you what chapter you're affiliated with, and then whether or not you're an advisor or a member. Once you click that, it'll continue and take you to a section based on if you selected you were an advisor or a member, with some questions that just kind of, there's a lot of information presented in this orientation, and we want to make sure to help ensure both advisors and competitors know when their competition dates and deadlines are. This is just kind of will help the CE management team as well have a checks and balance kind of set up for when we're fielding questions that come through from advisors and members here in the next month. We can kind of reference to see if you have viewed the orientation yet or not, or if we should recommend that as an additional resource for you to review.
Thank you, Noah. Also, we are asking that you complete that ethics and security statement form by that deadline before midnight on March 14th. Again, just to ensure that you understand kind of the expectations for this virtual platform that we find ourselves in for SLC. In all, we hope that you really have fun and work hard to further unlock your potential this year. And we wish the best of luck, Wisconsin HOSA, in all of your competitive events.
Thank you for joining us for this virtual orientation. We look forward to seeing how you unlock your potential in our state level competitive events program. Have a great day.